Guys, day 5. The writing is on the wall now that I'm going to have to go back to Ireland at some stage, aren't I? Realistically, like. Now, don't get me wrong, I quite like my family and friends in Ireland, but I've fallen in love with Lebanon. Like, it's over for me. Like, I've lost my mind on Lebanon. The people are just, I can't say enough about them, and I actually won't say enough about them. But then as well, it's such a beautiful, like, aesthetically, in terms of the scenery and everything, beautiful country. I began my day by taking a walk along the seafront in Beirut, right? And you're looking at this place, you're kind of thinking, this looks like an ideal holiday location. And I'm sure it could be that if it wanted to be, if it weren't for the fact that roughly every 15 or 20 years, the place is absolutely decimated by US empire and the most moral army in the world. You know, it's a kind of a lose-lose that these wonderful people and this beautiful country has to live in this kind of perpetual state of pre-war. Like, everything is kind of sort of being rebuilt all the time from the last time that it's been decimated. You know, like, it's this kind of purgatorial situation that a country like Lebanon has to be in because of Western hegemony. It's really quite tragic. So from there, we went to see the final resting place of Hassan Nasrallah, and that was exquisitely beautiful as well. The people are deep in mourning. This is such a massive tragedy for them. Their fallen leader. Again, you feel that, like, the love that they have for the man is in the air. It's actually, you can almost feel it and touch it. It's a tangible thing. And also the love that he had for his people remains very much intact and kind of keeps people together, kind of protects them. But even in that, they still have time to look up and see, oh my God, look at that bald white lad. He's not from around here. We better go over to him and ask him how he's getting on. A lot of the people, like most of the people, I would say, don't know who I am at all. So it's not like, oh, he's a supporter of ours or anything like that. They just wander up and say, hey, how are you? Where are you from? You know, some of them say, are you from America and Britain? And I go, no! Only joking. And I say, no, I'm from Ireland. They say, oh, you're so welcome. You know, thank you for coming over and seeing the real Lebanon and the real people. Just to say, this is your country now as well. What a beautiful, I've heard that a few times. What a beautiful thing to say, this is your country now as well. Lebanon is your country. Like, stop. So from there, we had an audience with Abu Ali. He is the bodyguard of Hassan Nasrallah for like 32 years, with him right from the start. And of course, when I heard like the bodyguard is coming in, I'm expecting like the most wanted man in the Arab world in terms of the Zionist US empire. This guy must be 7 foot, fucking rugby player stuff. This guy, probably my size, wanders in, but it kind of makes sense. You know, there's a kind of an inner strength to him, like this real kind of dignified guy. And I think what sums him up, because he was answering some of our questions, but what sums him up, right, because he embodies, I think, the humanity of the people that I'm spending time with. And I think the inhumanity of the enemy was illustrated yesterday. Remember, I told you that the Israeli fighter jets came over the funeral to kind of, you know, desecrate the funeral, to show a blatant lack of respect to people as they're going through this really difficult, poignant moment. But at that moment, Abu Ali, they call him the shield. He was the shield of Hassan Nasrallah because he protected him obviously so much. As the fighter jets were coming over, Abu Ali grabbed the coffin of Hassan Nasrallah and held it tight, still protecting him even in death. Like, I'm going to start crying there. But like, that is Lebanon. That is the Lebanese. Like, that level of humanity is what you will experience here. And I suppose it brings me to something that I was thinking afterwards. I think in the West, we need to have a conversation about terrorism. Because if these people are terrorists, I'm telling you, you know, they're the nicest terrorists I've ever met anyway. And I've met some very nice terrorists in the north of Ireland, I can tell you. But I do think we need to talk about terrorism because, you know, I came over here thinking Hezbollah was a fighting group, a military group. People in the West would think that Hezbollah are a bunch of bloodthirsty terrorists who live in a shed, have monstrously evil faces and just spend all day thinking up ways that they can torment the West. We were both wrong. Because when I got here, I realised that Hezbollah is so much more than a fighting group. Hezbollah is community projects. Hezbollah is media. Hezbollah is the health sector, doctors, nurses. Hezbollah is the community, it's the people, you know? So if you're going to call the fighters terrorists, then it's important, I think, for you to at least understand the ecosystem of terrorists who work around them. You'd also then have to describe the young translators who've been working with us all week as terrorists, these extremely well-read girls who couldn't possibly do more for us. They provide us with everything we need. They're by our side, helping us, giving us tea, helping us to understand Islam, taking us through the context of everything we're experiencing, showing us pictures of their kids in some instance, and I show them pictures of my kids. You're going to have to tell the 80-year-old woman who gave me some za'atar that she prepared for me today, you're going to have to call her a terrorist. You're going to have to call the kids who run after cars and knock on windows and offer us tea and bread and anything else that we need. You'll probably need to call those terrorists as well. You're probably going to have to call the doctors and nurses and community workers here terrorists. Do you know what, guys? You're going to have to call about half the population terrorists. Because Hezbollah is not just a bunch of fighters. Hezbollah is a way of life here. It is the people. It is an idea that cannot be defeated. And I just think the West would do an awful lot better if they stopped dehumanizing and dismissing people as terrorists. We'd certainly see an awful lot less bloodshed, and started to really self-reflect as to why there are resistance movements at all. To quote a famous Irish ballad, "And you dare to call me a terrorist while you look down your gun."